page 9 is finished, and as I said before, it is a mirror image of page 4. Had to think then, didn't I? Yeah, so obviously this bit isn't a mirror image. I just swapped around the patterned paper. But whereas this one opens this way, page 9 obviously opens this way, and you have a small tuck pocket here and 2 pockets here. So that's page 9 done. Now on to page 10. Now I haven't decorated page 5 yet, and page 5 is what we're basing page 10 on. So page 5, you have the flap here and the pocket. That'll be exactly the same for page 10. Then it opens up this way, and on page 9 we're going to have it open up the other way. You have a small flap here on page 10, it'll be here, and then pocket, which will be open this side for page 10, and then magnet and small horizontal waterfall. So let's get this done. Here's all the bits and pieces I need. And we start off with the base page, which is 8 1/4. Score it at 1/2 inch. Turn it 90 degrees so that the score line you just made is at the top, and then score it at 3/4 inch, 1 inch, 8 inches and 8 1/4 inches. One piece that I haven't decided how long it's going to be yet, I will measure it when I put on the waterfall. It's this bit here. So it's just 8 inches at the moment, and I've done my decorative edge, and it is 2 inches wide. One piece that is 5, I think that's supposed to be 5 3/4, but I've cut my decorative edge in, so it's gone down slightly. So 5 3/4, and it is scored at 5 1/4 by 7 inches. One piece that is 8 by 5, and on the 8 inch side it's scored at 1/2 inch and 7 1/2 inches. Let's make the pocket at the front. One piece that is 7 by 7 3/4 inches. One piece that is 8 3/4 by 7, and on the 8 3/4 inch side score it at 1/2 inch and 8 1/4 inches. And then 4 pieces that are 4 1/4 inches by 6 3/4 inches, and score it at 6 1/4 inches. And that's the same for all 4 of those. Now for this pocket here, which is the side pocket on the inside, I've got my papers already cut, just to make it easier to put it together all at once. Looking at the page, the first thing I think I would like to do is this bit. I'm going to put my pocket on. Obviously it's going to be the other side. Now this one has the flap at the top because it's an odd numbered page. It's page 5. This one's going to be page 10. So the little 1/2 inch score that you did along the 8 1/4 inch side, this has to go at the bottom. Let's put this out the way slightly and start working on the base. First things first, the 1/2 inch score line on the 8 1/4 inch side. I'm going to fold under that way. And the other score lines I'm going to fold up. So this is the 3/4 inch and 1 inch score lines, which makes a small gusset and a small flap. So there's my gusset there. And then over to the 8 inch score line and the 8 1/4 inch score line. And fold both of those in also. So now I have my base page with a couple of gussets, only it's going to be this way up. So you have the large flap on the left and this smaller flap on the right, and this small long flap along the bottom. Now, same as before, I'm going to take my scissors and on the 1 inch score line from this side, just going to cut it down where it meets this 1/2 inch score line. And on the 8 inch score line, so across here, this 8 inch score line, I'm going to do exactly the same. So I'm left with this tab that's going to be loose and this tab that will be loose. And those two I'm going to remove. So remove the tabs in a straight line. Like so. Now I want to put on, oh excuse me, now I want to put on the pocket. Now, like I said, on the original one, the pocket is facing this way towards the small flap. So on this page, the pocket is going to be facing this way towards the small flap. I'm going to get some tape on. Not forgetting the tape along the bottom, because nobody likes anything falling out of their bottom. And then each side. You can mitre these edges. This is just my preference. As I've said before, if you don't like to mitre the edges, then don't mitre the edges. Burnish. Remove the tape backing. My glue. So I want to place this one up against this gusset and this gusset. So it has to go between the 1 and the 8 inch score lines and not over them. Ladies and gentlemen, no matter where you might be, always remember to leave your gussets free. And that way you should be able to close up. Move that down just slightly. This is the beauty of using glue. I can flaff about for a little bit. Until I think I've got it where it needs to be. That's perfect for me. Now, as we all know, I usually go about things in a really odd way. If there's an easy way to do something, I won't do it that way. Now, I know that this bit I want to go underneath here, but I want to put my waterfall on top of here. The plan therefore is, I'm just going to glue it 3/4 of the way down and leave the bottom half unglued and place it on here. Now if I wanted to, I could leave the top slightly unstuck and put my first fold, my first page of the waterfall underneath the pattern paper, but to be honest it doesn't make much difference. Now with these waterfall pages, so there's only 4, you do not need to mitre them. In fact, you do not mitre them ever. Well, you could do. I mean, if I was actually making holes through the paper, like I usually do, through the pattern paper, then yes, I'd mitre my edges. But I don't need to do it here because I'm having these tabs really on show. As you can see, they are. You can see the tabs here. Back to that page. As you can see, I've decided to place it so that it just covers this pattern paper. So it's not in the centre at all, but it's where I want it on the page. And I'm going to do exactly the same to this one. Now, on the first one, if you remember, I did not put any sticky tape down. I just used glue. So I am actually going to put a little bit of sticky tape on these, just to help hold it whilst the glue dries. I'm going to turn this upside down to make it easier to see what I'm doing. Take off this tape backing. Add a bit of glue. And then place it on the page where I want it, and it's going to be right there. I think my piece of rag here is going to have to go in the wash. It's so stuck up with glue now. Okay, so that's my first waterfall element down. Next, oh, I've done it wrong, haven't I? Oh, see, this is where I'm not thinking properly. The tape doesn't go on this side, but luckily this is quite cheap tape, so it should be able to just come off. And it will be covered in patterned paper anyway. So all the other pieces you want to put the tape on the reverse side. So that was a bit of a waste of time. Luckily I hadn't burnished them down. So, I said so again. I've got to stop saying so. All the other pieces, put the tape on the reverse side of your cardstock. And as I explained before, craft cardstock does have, I think, different sides, because the reverse side, well, what I use for the reverse is lighter in colour. Okay, next one, take off the tape backing. Of course you all know how to do this anyway, but glue on and then line it up directly over the top of the gusset of the one that you laid down previously, and make sure that the sides line up. And if you accidentally move it when you're drying the glue, put it back in the right position. Very carefully lift. Oh. Well, the tape's not doing its job of holding it down. I'm going to have to do the same as I did to the last one, sort of like give it a few seconds to dry in between each one. Okay, carefully move that one out of the way, let it dry. On to the next one. Remove the tape backing, add my glue, and then place this one level, butting up to the previous one, so you can't see any of the pattern paper underneath. And then once again, make sure it's all lined up. Give it a burnish. Carefully lift this one up out the way. And then on to the last one. I didn't want to go overboard with the waterfall on this. I like to have at least 6 pages. But I thought this would be plenty for here. I didn't want it to be too thick. Once again, line it up and make sure you're not overhanging over the bottom of the page. Pop that down, make sure it's all lined up. Bring that down slightly. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Make sure you haven't splodged glue everywhere. I'm going to put that aside to dry and go on to the next piece. A very simple piece here. I'm going to take my 7 by 7 3/4 inch piece, my flap, which is 7 inches across, and my pocket, which started off at 8 inches across with the 1/2 inch score each side. Lay on some tape to stick it down. That wasn't very clever, was it? Once again, miter if only you want to. Right, take off the tape backing. So I just went into a word of my own just then. Right, tape backing off of the pocket. Bit of glue. Put this on the 7 inch side along the bottom. And the flap obviously is going at the top, and I've left this, okay, I did leave it unglued. I thought I left it unglued. Because I want a magnet here. I'm going to have to unstick it again, aren't I? Take off the tape backing, take off the tape backing, then add my glue. pop it on at the top so that it covers up. Now, did I extend this one slightly? I think I did, didn't I? I did. I changed it. I actually remember doing it now. So I'm going to take off this. Oh dear, dear, dear. Oh, I'm just going to make another pocket. You want to score this so that this comes down an extra 1/4 of an inch, so that it covers this, and then it looks pretty. Oh, now I don't know if I've left enough room for that. Wipe this off for a minute. Oh. Okay, so you don't score this at 5, you score it at 5 1/4. No, you don't score it at 5 1/4, you score it at 5 1/2. And that way when you put the pockets on, when you put the flap on of the pockets on, it will cover up, or for me, it will cover up this pattern paper so it doesn't look odd. So I'm going to remake this because I've already cut that, and I know it's a bit of a waste, but I'm sure I'll be able to find something for this, a use for it. Let's get a piece of card. So I know this needs to be 7 inches across. So there's that. Now I need to get some of this paper. So if I look in my scrap box here, I should have a piece that is 1.5 inches. Yes, it is. And I need 2 pieces that are like that. Is that 1.5 inches? Slightly under, but I reckon I could get away with that. Okay, so these need to be 7. This one's already cut to size. 6 7/8 of an inch for my pattern paper. Might as well show you how I do this here, and then it's all done. Find the edge of my tape, which I do believe is there. Maybe not. Got it. Okay, now I know this is going to be the front, so I need to decide which way up I want the patterned paper. That looks good to me. Yeah, I want it that way up. And when I'm doing these edges of flaps, not edges of pockets. If I was doing a pocket, I would tape it along the open edge. Just make sure I haven't got a piece that's 1.5 inches in here. Oh no, but I could probably make one. Yeah. Let's make sure it's all right, because this is slightly, I mean, it's not much off, but it is slightly off. And slightly off isn't good enough for me, so it needs to be 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches. and 7/8. I've got a funny feeling I've just done that 1.25 inches. I just did it 1.25 inches. Oh, I'm going to use this bit. Okay, on the other side, I have to decide, because it's going to go this way up, which way up I want it, and I want it this way up, and then tape that down. Next, I need my edge die, and put it so that it's centered, and I want it the other side, not this side, because this is my right side. Okay. Now I know that's the centre line here, so it needs to be centred. I should stand up for this. So now that's in the centre, and then it needs to be the same distance top and bottom here. Now, as we know, my is it depth of perception, something like that, my vision, it doesn't see in straight lines, so that does look really crooked to me, but it might be all right. Let's remove everything from my cutting machine and then pop it in. Now what I'll do is I'll run it, because this is 2 pattern paper on 1 card, I will run it through this way twice, then I'll turn it to the sideways, because the sides of the rollers tend to press it down a bit more, and I'll do it one side and then the other side. So first of all, front ways, then oh, it looks like it's gone through already. Let's have a look. Sometimes you're lucky and it goes through. Yep, this went through already, so I only needed to do it that once. Right, remove. Now this is the one you have to carefully remove, because obviously this is going to be, actually no, I don't want to remove that yet, do I? I just want to remove these bits first. This one. This one, there we go. Now ruler and knife. Now where the pattern ends, because obviously it didn't cut right across the paper, it's going to line it up where the cut marks end on each side, and then just make sure that the cuts go to the end of the paper, the end of the page. There we go. Now then I mark them. Front, and this will be the back, but the back's going to have a magnet, so that can go there. Take off the paper tape, the washi tape, or whatever you use, very carefully because you don't want to take off the pattern of your pattern paper. Okay, and then when they're glued on, all I do is pull it down about 1/16 of an inch. So I get left with a small gap there. That to me is the easiest way for me to get the patterned edges on my paper. And I think it's easier if you do it this way, where you use strips of paper. You end up using less paper anyway, and it's much easier. You can get all your patterned edges sorted out first and then just go from there. So that's the way I do that. Now then, for this to cover this, I need it to be scored roughly somewhere along there. That's roughly where my score line's going to be. So my score line will be at 5.5. So I'm going to score it at 5.5. Oh, that was a bit dodgy. Look at that. Right, 5.5, and then I will cut it at 6 inches. So I'll cut it there at 6. Fold this over and lay it down here. So this is slightly crooked. I'll probably cut this down slightly, but it needs to be cut. 6 inches. Now I'm going to apply my tape. Mitre my edges, remove my tape backing, add my glue, and then pop this at the top of the page. Give it a burnish. Right, with all that faffing about, smooth this, put that to one side. What do I do with the rest of my page? I put it down here. This should now be ready. Now I know that I'm going to have magnets on here, and they're going to be top and bottom there. There's going to be a magnet here. And the next job I need to do is to place this flap that I've made with a pocket on top of my base page. With that, I'm going to lay this down so that the gusset is hidden, it's flat on the table. Then I'm going to add some tape. I am going to mitre the edges here. Remove the tape backing. Chuck my glue across the table before adding it. Just there. I don't want the glue to spurt out over my pattern paper. So I'm just going to pop that under there for a minute just to protect my pattern paper. Okay, now this goes with the, obviously, the pocket and the flap facing upwards. I'm going to lay this onto that tab and line it up straight with the page underneath. Not happy with that. This page seems to be slightly longer for some reason. Let's get that lined up. And then go over. That's good. Give that a really good burnish. Remind myself that there are going to be magnets here to correspond with these magnets here. Okay, so the last thing you need to do is decide where this is going to be. Now I think I want it about there. Got to think about where you want the top of this to be. If you want it right at the top, then, you know, go for it. So this one I had about there. Let's have a look, about there. That was it. Back out with the scoreboard. So I'm going to score this at about 4 3/4 inches. I score it at 4 3/4 inches. At 5 inches. And then cut it off. I'm going to give it a little bit of extra, I think. I'm going to cut it off at 5 3/4. And I can do that with a pair of scissors. Fold so that I can see my gusset. And I'm going to add tape. I'm going to add some tape on here just to hold it whilst the glue is drying. Oh, sorry, my plaster keeps moving. I've got a blister on my finger. So obviously you want to avoid the gussets once again. Avoid making the amount of mess I have done. Okay. Remove that tape backing. Now, as you can see, I've put it on both sides. And I'm going to add glue to both sides. Okay, now once again I didn't stick this down. So I can now place this so that that bottom gusset line is level with the bottom of the page. So I'm not covering up my gussets at all. And then decide where this has got to be, and I think there is pretty good. Now I can glue this down. And that, apart from the magnets and the decoration, you can see I do have my little gusset sticking up here. That will have a magnet on it there. That then goes over here. There'll be magnets here. The magnets there. And that will be page 10, which is the opposite of page 5. So once again, I will decorate both of these and show them to you on the next video. And on the next video, I am hoping to start putting this together and then doing those in between pages that I said I wanted to do with the envelopes. But there you go. Page 5, still not decorated. Page 10, not decorated, but fully constructed in a roundabout way. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye for now.